Welcome to the Business Leaders Legacy Podcast, the show where we go behind the scenes of business leaders to uncover their vision, strategies, and challenges they face along the way. My name is Chris Bruner. I'm the CEO of Simple AI Solutions and the host of today's podcast. I'm excited to have Awesome Calam, creative director at Malibu Creative. Austin is known for an award-winning filmmaker and producer with over 10 years of digital media experience, helping businesses gain market momentum by creative compelling production, branding, photography, and web development for organizations like the NHL, Chick-fil-A, and many more. And so, Austin, I'm excited for you to be here, excited to jump in. Can you please share with our listeners a little bit about you, your journey, and what Malibu Creative does?
Yeah, Chris, thanks for having me on. I'm really excited to be here. Thankful for the opportunity. I started in film production 10 years ago, making backyard films. My brother is responsible for my career in a lot of ways. He pulled me in front of the camera and really invited me into that opportunity. He needed somebody to be there to act, and sooner or later, I realized that he moved on to cars, and I was stuck with video. And man, I still remember the first time I sat down with Windows Movie Maker with files. I just didn't know how to edit it, right? But I knew I wanted to. I knew I wanted to be able to take those clips and turn it into a story. And so, my journey started there, and eventually it turned into an understanding through leadership from my father that I could actually, make some income from producing videos. And during that time, when I started making videos for small organizations and businesses, I started to realize that they were asking for videos, but I didn't really understand what their end goals were. And when I started to dig into those end goals, I started to gently challenge if video was actually the right fit. It's the only thing I did at the time, but I wanted to make sure that the videos we were producing was going to produce the end result that they were wanting, right? And ensuring that that really did work in their favor and that it really did accomplish the end goal, that they would get the right sort of return on their investment. Um, and that's kind of what naturally jumped me into marketing. Those are the kind of conversations that you have as a marketing agency. That turned into continuing to do film production for a number of years. Started a small LLC and met my wife during that process. She learned how to do sound, and eventually to the point where I was like, dang, she's way better than I am at this. So we had a really fun stint for a couple of years of producing together. And eventually that led into a realization that I needed to step into something more. And it was clear that God had an invitation for me to lead the team at Malibu Creative. And that really brings us to today. I've been at Malibu Creative for, it'll be 3 years here soon in April. And it's just been an awesome journey, and really thankful for the stuff I've learned along the way, and all the people that have been able to pour into me. And just been surrounded by an awesome community here in Wichita.
Yeah, that is awesome. That is so cool to hear how it all has just kind of come together to, especially like meeting your wife and like now you guys working together and then now being where you're at now at Malibu Creative. So cool, super interesting. To dive into all that a little bit more, you've worked on like huge productives with major brands and now you're leading a team helping businesses to get seen and known. What makes you so passionate about using digital media and creative storytelling to help businesses gain that market momentum?
Yeah, well, market momentum for us is really defined as being known for who you truly are, to connect with the people that matter most to you, right? And so it all starts with this place of identity. Like, Chris, you have something really unique to offer that needs to be known and seen by the world. You were created to be able to connect with somebody really specific, and to be able to bless others in a very specific way, right? And so the way that we approach every business is understanding what I would say is how someone would identify you in a crowd, right? Everyone looks unique. So let's be sure that everyone has a clear understanding of what makes them unique on an internal relational level, right? And so we start with just evaluating and understanding, what are your strengths, passions, values, right? And that then takes into account who they truly are, and really gives them permission, if they're willing to go to that level, to maybe even shift some things in their business so that they there's a guy named Jamie Winship that I love, and he talks about when the way of your being matches the truth of your being, there's a greater level of wholeness, and I would also say it's a greater level of success in life, and so you'll experience more satisfaction, fulfillment, and ultimately just centeredness when you are being yourself and when you're walking in your true identity, and that really motivates me to sit down with new individuals every single week and to understand who they are because to me the way that I measure success is that if someone feels encouraged, if they feel like they've got a greater sense of energy toward the things that they're doing in their business, and we walk away from that meeting, doesn't matter if we work with them or not, right? That to me is a successful meeting, and that to me is a successful encounter with somebody, and that just fuels my day more and more every time I go to work.
Yeah, no, that is so cool. That is really cool to hear just how it all pieces together and what you do is like it sounds like it's really like focusing on like the foundation of like getting to just like a place where they are like building on the things that really what they have to offer and what would be most impactful for them. And so that's really cool to hear just how it all pieces together and your perspective and your focus on it. Super cool. That's really cool to hear. I'm wondering within, there's always new things coming up all the time with like tools and technology and this and that and like different trends. I'm wondering, are you seeing anything within the digital media, branding, marketing industries right now? And if so, are you using any of that stuff within Malibu Creative?
Yeah, so it's an easy one for our space with automation and with AI. It's always been a hot topic for the past number of years. And one way we're currently implementing it is to solve some of the Mm, simple miscommunication that can happen at the early end of a project or at the front end of a project, right? There's vision casting that needs to happen with every single project that we produce for our clients, whether that's for video, whether that's for website, or even for photography. And so, in particular, with the video production side of things, one way that we're using AI or a sense of automation is to actually produce some of those AI generated images and place them in our pitch deck so that our clients have a really clear understanding of the look and feel and the type of production overall that they're going to get, the direction we're going to take it, right? It's kind of a single source of truth. It becomes a single source of truth for our clients and for us to be able to look at. And the nice thing is as a result, that's actually allowed for our team to be able to look at that and come back to it and make sure that we're aligned in our lighting plans and our location scouts and everything in between. And that's been really powerful at this stage.
Yeah, no, that is really cool. That's it definitely there's so much that AI is making such a big impact in so many different industries and it's interesting to hear your perspective on it, to hear how you guys are using it, right? Because it's obviously I feel like every business especially in your industry using it in one way or another, right? And using it in an effective way, right? Not just throwing it in and being like it will solve our issues or solve our challenges, but using it in a way strategically to solve a specific, very specific, either bottleneck or to add clarity is huge. And so that's super cool. That's really interesting to hear how you guys are tackling that. I'm wondering, to kind of shift to think about like current state of your business, what are some things that are working really well at Malibu Creative right now?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. One of the things that's working really well and that we're really excited about is that we're drinking our own Kool-Aid. And what I mean by that is, and I would challenge anybody listening, and even you, Chris, next time you talk to a marketing agency, gently ask them, tell me about the ways in which you guys use your own products, right? That hopefully won't put them on their heels, but I think it's just one way that I really feel that we're gaining some momentum within our space to utilize our own digital media products within our own sales pipeline process, to have it in our toolkit has been really powerful. And we're really excited because we're currently going through a rebranding process that's going to result in a new website. And within that, we're able to really stress test all of our own systems and processes when it comes to the way that we're building our website and to use our products on ourselves. And we're really excited about the data that we're going to receive from that at this stage.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. I feel like that is like huge, right? Being a user of what you're offering is it like puts in front of any client that like, hey, like I am in a sense like going through, what we're talking about here and a user of it and can see it firsthand. It gives you the competitive advantage of knowing the ins and outs of what you're offering, but then it also helps show that you're like leading by example, and so that's super cool. That's awesome. That's really interesting. On the flip side, every business goes through challenges. I'm wondering if you can share maybe a past challenge at Malibu Creative that you guys have been able to overcome, and what did you learn through that experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd say when I came to Malibu Creative about 3 years ago, again after working in the space for a number of years, I started to try and understand who we were. And I realized that my own insecurities actually kind of got in the way of understanding that well. I wanted to be someone that could offer anything to anyone. And we started to think about how we could expand the business through contractors, through additional services. And yet the difficulty was is that we actually lost momentum within that area of expanding outward into other things, right? And the reality was is we were just causing ourselves extra level of friction, right? That we were choosing to engage in because we simply weren't aligning with our identity as a business, right? We were trying to be all things to all people, and it just wasn't working, right? And the crazy thing was in the areas that was aligned with our identity, that was being like dragged down and bogged down in that process. And so that really, I think, was the starting point for us to really recognize the power of leaning into who you truly are and to really even hone in on like one, two, maybe just three services as a whole in the company and focus on making those be your cornerstone and really using those to to be the three ingredients of your Kool-Aid. You know what I mean? Like, let's just focus on what we do best and be okay with saying no to anyone who comes across us asking for something a little bit different, redirecting them to the people that we believe can do that well. And that's been a huge lesson that, we're continually tempted to fall back into, but to hold our ground and say, no, it's okay. We don't have to be that right now has been really powerful.
Yeah. No, the taking a moment and like reflecting on that is huge because it's so easy as you're like navigating running a business, right? You want to and running and leading teams and all sorts of stuff, right? It's so easy to like just like start being like, yes, I could do that. Yes, I could do that. And it just yeah, I get it. It muddies the water. It just makes things confusing. Like you said, like adds friction. That's like so important. And I feel like that's so valuable for people like for business leaders to like hear and to recognize because it's so easy just to be like yes, 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 like take the opportunities as many as you can, right? But having that just self-awareness as a business and having that ability to be like okay like I think you'll be used, or I think what you want is better over here, and passing that on is huge. And so that's super cool. It's really cool to hear how after doing that just added clarity and honestly it like kept that momentum or added that momentum back. And so that's cool. That's super cool. I'm wondering, are there any current challenges that you guys are facing? Any like, problems with like any bottlenecks or things taking up too much time on the business side or anything specifically you guys are currently navigating?
Yes, that's a great question. I would say one of the things is when it comes to our industry as a whole, it can be easy to get lost in uh, a broad definition, right? We call ourselves a digital media agency. However, the reality is that everyone hears that and they think marketing, right? So for us to lean into, again, our identity, what naturally will differentiate us has been a continual challenge. And I think it's just going to take time to continue to refine that language. The thing that we're leaning into at this stage really is how do we articulate even beyond marketing? How do we lean into the the sales language side of things,
Mm.
right? Like if marketing is everything that you would say if you were with that person in person, it's just said online, then how can we translate that to the beliefs, the values that every salesperson has, and pull from that as the source of all of our website material, all of our video production and our photography, so that the most successful thing that they have fuels their digital form of their sales, right? So again, it's like you can hear it's not fully formed, right? But we're wrestling with that to be able to separate ourselves out from the rest of the competition here locally, but also nationally, so that we're really known as someone that offers something a little bit different and becomes known for that in particular thing, or and becomes known for that particular thing.
Yeah, yeah, that is cool. That is interesting. It's definitely a lot. It's a difficult thing to navigate, but like making coming across that way and like making that like the advantage of the way that you stand out is huge. And so that's super cool. I'm thinking more towards like the future now. Like what when you look at the next like 6 months to a year, is there any specific goals that you're focusing on achieving within Malibu Creative? And like if it's growth, like what does that next level of growth look like?
Yeah, so the next level of growth for us and what that really looks like is I'm thinking about two things here actually. I'll talk to one of them, but it's really ensuring that our sales training system is locked in tight, right? That any member of our team can sell well and they can speak to our products in a way that really connects to their core beliefs, right? And so building out a system where anyone can sell on our team, right? In a way that's true to them. That's the thing I'm most excited about right now because when that happens, every individual can be out in the community being themselves and connect the dots for other people in a way that's really powerful to where we can discover individuals that really could benefit from our products, right? And it's not ever going to be in a way that feels like a team member has to be someone else or push something on someone, right? Because that's no one wants that. Like when you think of sales, that's what you think of. But the reality is what we want to get to places our team members can recommend solutions that overcome pain points that people are experiencing that they just happen to encounter. Right. So it's
Yeah.
connecting those passions, those strengths, those values that our team members have to simply the outcomes that people are experiencing with our products. And so I'm excited to continue to develop that.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. That's really cool. Having like piecing together those pain points with your team members, the strengths that your team members have is like huge, right? And being able to kind of put connect those two and put them together and it's like the whole idea of sales, right? And it's the way of like, what we all think of like a used car salesman of like, oh, I'm just gonna sell you anything. Like no matter what you say, like this is what you want. Like that's like gone. That's out of the way, right? Because like nowadays, like people want to make that connection, right? If you come across just super salesy, you're just gonna lose so many people. And it's important to have that connection and to use, right, like you'd said, like your team's strengths, individual strengths, what they all have to meet the prospects pain points. And so that is super interesting. That's super cool. Super excited to see how that's gonna get built out and just kind of super stoked for you. When you think about that next level of growth, if it's that, and if it's like creating more conversations or whatever it might be, a part of that sales cycle, when you think of that growth, what kind of plan do you have in place? Are there like specific investments with like tools or staff or strategies even that you are exploring to put in place for that?
Yeah, so right now we're really refining and building out that process, which begins by, I mean, the plan right now begins by interviewing our team members, right? We've already gone through this, the starting point of them naming some of their strengths, passions, and values. But the next stage is actually to sit down and have me ask them, okay, why did you choose those? What do those really mean to you? And then start walking them through a customized sales structure that then gives them permission to speak to those in a way that feels true to them, but also connects to some of the goals we have in the business. So the next plan is simply to test it out on our team. And it's really not testing because what it is it's refining and the results are going to be really usable and applicable to our business. And I'm super excited because it's just a good call. It's a good opportunity for me to have good conversation with our team members.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's super cool. That is interesting. There's definitely a lot that goes into that. And it's interesting to see how, this this level of growth, this area that you're exploring and like figuring out how to navigate that and create it within the structure of the business. It's super interesting. Are there like specific when you look at that plan and look at what there's to do on that, are there like specific challenges or anything that you feel like might need to be solved to reach that goal?
Hmm. Yeah, one of the things that comes to mind well, one of the things that I've been considering within this is the unknown aspect of when you take it out into the field, right? When you've articulated what matters most to you, your passions, your values, your strengths, right? When you go out into the field and you start speaking to those things, the reality is that when the rubber hits the road, it's not always going to be what you thought it was in the lab, right?
Mhm.
There's going to be language that you're going to need to probably come up with on the spot because there's somebody that you're speaking to, and so yeah, I'm not. It's not really it doesn't feel painful right now. It may be a little bit to overcome those, but I'm actually excited to discover how do we create something that allows for ideation and creation on the spot. A bit of a creation framework that allows for team members to generate almost like one-liners or benefit statements that connect the dots to people live in the moment, right? In a way that is essentially that that speaks to what they're hearing, right? It's taking in that information in a conversation, repeating it back to them in a way that connects the dots to where they feel, you know, really understood. They feel like the person's present, but at the same time, our team is also, testing out whether or not some of the things that we do could benefit them, and then could lead to some, you know, in the moment ideation, which is just then really fun and exciting, right? It's something that I feel like I've learned how to do through trial and error. And so I'm wondering, how do I do that in a way that empowers my team and gives them a bit of a framework and process to do it live?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that is huge. That's awesome. That really is interesting. It's coming to the challenge in that mindset, in that perspective of like bringing what you've learned through, through the heartaches and through the challenges and leading your team in that way is so important. That's so cool. I think that really speaks to the type of business leader you are, and so that's really cool, really cool. Austin, I've really enjoyed the conversation we've had today and just a lot of the insights and perspective you brought. It was like super cool, interesting to hear. Before we go, can you share with our listeners a little bit more about where they can find more out about you, about Malibu Creative, and just stay involved with what you have going on?
Yeah, yeah. So best way to stay in touch is to connect with me on LinkedIn on my personal page. We're Malibu Creatives on a lot of the different social media channels. I'd say, if you're thinking about who you are and want to lean into just your uniqueness and how that can empower your business and produce sales tools that really fit you and really enhance your sales process, go to malibucreative.net/contact and fill out that form. It'll send an email directly to me, and I'd love to be able to connect over a quick, 15-minute strategy call and talk about who you are, what you want to accomplish, and see if there's a good fit.
Yeah, awesome. Well, to close, I would like to ask one last question, right? Since this is the Business Leaders Legacy podcast, and you being a business leader, the creative director at Malibu Creative, can you please share what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Yeah, I I think what I'd really like to see, and this even starts with my family, right, and then it goes on upward from there. The legacy I'd like to leave behind is more business leaders that are walking in their true identity. Really, just as simple as that, you know?
Yeah, no, that is huge. I feel like coming back to the core of it is huge. And so that's really cool. Well, Austin, thank you so much. I really appreciate everything, just sharing your perspective, sharing your insight. It was awesome. For all of our listeners out there tuning in, thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed our conversation, please subscribe, share, like the channel. We appreciate it. Go check out Austin and Malibu Creative, and we will see you next time. Thank you again, Austin.
Thanks, Chris.